Hey, what's happening guys? Today I'm going to show you how to make a zero carb pizza crust pizza. We're actually going to be using chicken as the base for this pizza crust to keep the carbs at zero for the entire thing. And not just the crust, but the entire pizza is loaded with protein. There's over 125 grams of protein in this entire pizza. As far as the total carbs go, it's like 7 or 8 grams of carbs for the entire thing. That's including the sauce and the cheese and all that good stuff. It is pretty ridiculous. Now, with that said, I'm sure some of you are wondering if the zero carb pizza crust tastes like normal pizza crust. I'm not gonna lie to you, it doesn't taste like normal pizza crust. It tastes a little bit like chicken because that's what we're using as the base for the crust. But if you're looking for the absolute lowest carb pizza crust that you can make that has pretty close to the same texture as a normal pizza crust, I think this recipe is gonna be a hit with you. Anyway, let's not waste any more time because I'm sure you're getting hungry. Let's jump right into the good stuff. Make this low carb, actually zero carb pizza crust pizza.
All right, first things first, we're gonna get our oven preheating to 400 degrees. Then while that's preheating, we're gonna get 3 large eggs out and we're gonna crack and add them to a bowl. Of course, we'll also wanna whiskify those together until the yolks combine with the whites. And then when they do, we can set that bowl aside and start working on the rest of the ingredients we'll need for our zero carb pizza crust. So as you're seeing here, the next thing I'm doing is adding around 3 heaping tablespoons or around 20 grams of unflavored whey protein powder to a bowl. And if you're wondering which one I like to use this one by Isopure, since it not only has zero carbs, but it also works incredibly well as a binder for this chicken crust pizza recipe. Now, after I've added that to the bowl, the next thing I'm gonna do is add around a heaping 1/3 of a cup or 30 grams of some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Then I'm gonna follow that up by adding some spices. And of course, this is totally optional, but I like to add a little more flavor to my zero carb crust. So to do that, I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of garlic salt and a half a teaspoon of onion powder. Then after I've added those to the bowl, I'll get out my whisk and whiskify all those ingredients together until they combine. Now, once I've got those looking good, I'm gonna set that bowl aside and get out my chicken because of course we are making chicken crust pizza. So that said, I recommend going with some 99% lean ground chicken for the pizza crust because you're gonna end up getting a better texture from your crust if you do. You're also gonna wanna pat that chicken dry and remove any excess liquid from it before adding it to a bowl as well. Then when that's taken care of, we can add in those dry ingredients that we prepped from earlier, and we can start to incorporate them into the ground chicken with our hands. Also, I don't go too crazy here with the mixing, I just like to get the party started. So once that's looking good, I'm gonna pour in the whisked eggs from earlier, and then I'm gonna get out my spatula and really work those into the chicken mixture. And when I say really work, I mean it. This process is going to take a couple of minutes to happen, but eventually the chicken will absorb most of that egg mixture and turn into something of like a thick batter consistency. Now, once that consistency takes shape, I'm going to line a 14-inch pizza pan with some parchment paper. Then I'm going to pour the chicken crust batter onto the sheet. Then after I've done that, I'm going to use a spatula to work the batter around the sheet. And just so you know, this recipe will make around a 12-inch chicken crust pizza. So once you spread the batter out to be about that size, you can get it in the oven and bake it for about 15 minutes. Now, while the pizza is baking, I like to make a quick sugar-free low-carb sauce for it. So what I like to do is start with a base tomato sauce like this one. This has no sugar added to it and only 2 net carbs per 1/4 cup. And as far as how much I like to use about a heaping 1/2 cup or 140 grams of it. I think that is the perfect amount for this 12-inch pizza. Anyway, once I've added that to my bowl, I'm gonna jazz it up a little bit, a little garlic salt and onion powder just like I did with the crust. But then I'm also gonna sweeten it up by adding some 0 calorie and 0 carb sweetener as well. And of course, all this is really to taste, so how much you use is totally up to you. With that said though, I also like to add a little olive oil to my homemade sauce as well. Now at this point, the crust should be finishing up in the oven and we'll wanna let it cool down a bit before we start building our pizza with it. Also, once it cools down, we'll actually wanna flip it over to finish the pizza making process. And I've gotta say guys, the look and bendability of this chicken crust pizza is pretty ridiculous. I was actually surprised myself how good this thing turned out. Anyway, once I've got my sauce tasting how I want it, I'm gonna apply it to my chicken pizza crust, and then I'm gonna work it around the crust until it's almost covering the entire thing. Then after I've done that, I'm gonna add my mozzarella cheese. And again, the amount you use is totally gonna be up to you and how you like your pizza. For me though, I like to use about 1.5 cups or around 168 grams of cheese. Of course, lastly, I'm gonna add a little pep to my pizza, but toppings are totally optional on this thing. So if a pepperoni pizza isn't what you wanna make, you do you, boo. Yeah, I don't know why I just said that last part, but we're just gonna roll with it. Anyway, once we've got our toppings on our chicken crust pizza, we're gonna pop that back in the oven for another 15-ish minutes, just so we can start to get the cheese melty and our pepperoni crispy. Then I like to finish my pizza on a broil until the cheese totally melts. And that, my friends, is how to make a 0 carb pizza crust and a full pizza to boot that is super low carb and super high in protein. As always, for more info on today's chicken crust pizza recipe, check out the video description below. There's a link down there where you can print the recipe out, get the macros, and get a bunch of other stuff as well. Anyway, that's it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoy the pizza, and I'll see you in the next one.